Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're diving into something pretty familiar, something you probably use every single day.
Oh, let me guess. Is it coffee?
So close, it's actually salt.
Salt. Okay, I see where you're going with this. I mean, everyone knows salt. What's so deep about that?
Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going beyond just, shaking it on our food and really looking at the chemistry of salt.
The chemistry of salt. Okay, you've got my attention. I'm ready to get salty with knowledge.
Perfect. So we're going to break it down into 5 key areas. Ready?
Hit me with it.
Okay, first up, we're going to tackle the basic chemistry of salt. What it is, what it's made of, the building blocks.
Yeah, I'm with you. Then what?
Then we'll look at how salt interacts with our taste buds. Like, how do we even perceive that salty taste?
Oh, interesting. I've always wondered about that. It just seems so basic. Salty is salty.
You'd think so, but trust me, there's more to it. Then we'll explore how salt acts as a flavor enhancer, how it works with other tastes.
Now, that's something I definitely want to know more about.
Then we'll jump into the world of mineral salts. Things like sea salt, Himalayan salt, all that good stuff.
Ah, the fancy salts. I use those in my cooking all the time, but I'm not really sure what makes them so special.
We'll get to the bottom of it. And finally, we'll wrap things up by exploring the sheer variety of salts out there. You'd be surprised how many different types there are.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Let's dive into this salt mine of information.
Let's do it. So first things first. Chemistry. Most people think of salt as like just sodium chloride, right?
Yeah, that's what I learned back in high school chemistry. NaCl, table salt, the end.
Right. But it turns out salt's a little more complicated than that. It's not just sodium chloride. It's actually a whole family of mineral salts, each with its own unique composition and, personality.
Whoa. Back up a second. Salt has a family.
Think of it this way. Sodium chloride, that's like the most basic kind, the head of the family, right?
Okay, I'm following. So what are the other, salt relatives?
You've got potassium chloride, magnesium sulfate, calcium chloride, and a bunch of others.
So, each one of these is a type of salt?
Yep. Each one bringing something different to the table in terms of how they taste and how we behave.
Okay, my mind is vividly blown. Salt just got a whole lot more interesting.
Told ya. But let's get back to basics for a second. How do we actually taste salt? Like, what's going on in our mouths when we eat something salty?
Good question. I mean, I know it tastes salty, but I have no idea how I know it tastes salty.
Exactly. Well, it all comes down to these things called sodium ions. Our tongue have these special taste receptors, and when these sodium ions hit those receptors,
We register it as salty.
exactly, our brain gets the signal, and boom, we taste salt.
So it's not the salt itself, but these tiny little ions that trigger the sensation.
That's right. Pretty cool, huh?
It really is. I never thought I'd be so fascinated by salt.
And get this, those sodium ions aren't just making things taste salty, they're actually boosting other flavors, too.
How do they do that?
It's all about balance. Salts can, mellow out bitterness, make sweet things even sweeter.
Really? Salt can make things sweeter.
Absolutely. Ever noticed how a pinch of salt in a chocolate chip cookie recipe really brings out the chocolate flavor?
Now that you mentioned it, yeah, I guess I have. I just never thought about the salt's role in that.
That's what we're here for, to unravel the salty mysteries.
I'm loving it. Keep going.
Okay, so we've covered the basic chemistry and how our taste buds work with salt. But what about those fancy salts, like sea salt and Himalayan salt? Are they really that different?
Oh, yeah, I use those all the time, especially sea salt. There's just something about it.
Right, so these are what we call mineral salts. And the thing is, they've got all these extra trace minerals that give them unique characteristics.
Taste minerals, huh? Is that why they have those different colors, like that pretty pink Himalayan salt?
Exactly. Those minerals not only affect the color, but also the taste. Think of it like they're adding their own little spice to the mix.
So, sea salt has a stronger, more intense flavor.
Exactly. It's got things like magnesium and potassium, which regular table salt doesn't have.
And Himalayan salt, what about that one?
Himalayan salt has this almost sweet note to it. It's really subtle, but it's there.
Wow, I never knew that. I guess I need to pay more attention to the different types of salt I use.
You and me both. It's a whole new world of flavor to explore.
And, it's not just about the taste. Those minerals in sea salt, they actually affect how much salt you need to use.
Oh, really? How so?
Since sea salt has a more intense flavor, you can actually use less of it compared to, regular table salt.
So you're saying if I'm trying to cut back on sodium, I should switch to sea salt?
It could definitely help. You still get that great salty taste, but with less actual sodium.
Smart. What about Himalayan salt? How does that compare?
Himalayan salt, with its unique mineral profile, it can add a lot of complexity to your dishes. Where table salt might just taste kind of flat.
It's like instead of a plain black and white photo, you're getting a full color image with all those extra details.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, speaking of complexity, one of the things we came across in the research really caught my eye. It's called biased agonism.
Biased agonism. Okay, that sounds pretty intense. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but I'll try to explain it simply. Basically, our bodies have these things called receptors. They're like little docking stations on our cells.
Okay, I'm picturing like tiny little spaceships docking on a cell.
Exactly. So when a molecule, like a drug or even a flavor compound, fits into that receptor, it triggers a reaction.
So it's like a lock and key. Only the right key can unlock that specific response.
Exactly. Now, biased agonism is like designing a key that can unlock a very specific part of that response. It's like, having a master key that can open different rooms within the same house.
Okay, I think I'm following. But what does this have to do with salt?
Well, some researchers believe that how we taste saltiness, it might involve several different pathways within the same taste receptor. So with biased agonism, we could potentially create like a salt
A
substitute
salt substitute that.
that gives you that full salty flavor, but without all the negative health effects of sodium.
Whoa, that would be amazing. Especially for people who have to watch their sodium intake.
Exactly. It shows how understanding how taste works at a molecular level can lead to some pretty amazing possibilities.
It's like hacking our own biology to make food both tastier and healthier. I love it.
Right. It's pretty incredible. And speaking of amazing possibilities, this actually connects to another cool concept, orphan receptors.
Orphan receptors, those sounds kind of lonely.
Well, they are a bit of a mystery. See, orphan receptors are these proteins in our bodies that we know exist, but we don't know what activates them. It's like we have a bunch of locked doors, but no keys.
So we know these receptors are there, but we don't know what they do exactly.
Exactly. And some scientists think that there might be orphan receptors involved in how we taste things.
So like maybe there are whole new flavors out there that we haven't even discovered yet.
Imagine that. It would be like suddenly discovering a new color that we never knew our eyes could see.
That's mind-blowing. So much to discover about our own senses.
It really is. All this talk about receptors and pathways makes me think about that recent breakthrough with the male contraceptive.
Oh yeah, the one that targets a specific receptor. I read about that.
It's amazing how scientists are using technology to map out these tiny receptors in 3D and then design drugs that fit them perfectly like a puzzle piece.
It's like they're crafting these custom-made keys for each lock. I wonder if we could use the same approach to understand taste even better.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows what we might discover about flavor?
Okay, I think we've gone pretty deep into the science here. Let's bring it back to salt. You mentioned before there's a whole world of salt varieties out there, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've talked about sea salt and Himalayan salt, but that's just the beginning. There's flaky sea salt, smoked sea salt, black salt, red salt.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Salt comes in that many varieties.
Oh yeah, there's so many, and each one has its own unique story based on where it's from, how it's harvested, and what minerals it contains.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about these exotic salts. Let's start with flaky sea salt. What makes it so special?
Well, for starters, flaky sea salt has this amazing, delicate, crunchy texture. It's not just about the saltiness, it's about how it feels in your mouth.
So the textural thing.
Exactly. Chefs love using it as a finishing salt, sprinkled on top of dishes as this burst of flavor and a nice crunch.
I can almost taste it now, those little crystals melting on your tongue. What about smoked sea salt? I've heard of that one, but never tried it.
Smoked sea salt is fantastic. It's infused with a smoky flavor from being smoked over wood chips.
So it's like salty and smoky.
Exactly. It's amazing on grilled meats, fish, even popcorn.
Smoked salt on popcorn. Okay, now I have to try that.
You won't regret it. And then there's black salt, also known as kala namak. It has this really interesting sulfuric aroma and a slightly pinkish gray color.
Black salt. I've never even seen that one before.
It's commonly used in Indian cuisine to add a unique savory note.
So it's not just about the saltiness, it's about all these other layers of flavor that each salt brings to the table.
Exactly. It's like having a whole palette of salty flavors to play with in your kitchen.
This is amazing. I'm starting to think I need a whole new spice rack just for salt.
Me too. It's a slippery slope once you start exploring all the different types of salt out there.
It's like a whole world of salts just opened up to me. And speaking of new worlds, you mentioned something about salt in cocktails.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other deep dive we could do.
Wait, salt in cocktails. I need to hear more about this.
Bartenders are getting really creative these days, using salt to enhance the flavors of cocktails, just like chefs use salt in their dishes.
So it's like salt is playing a similar role balancing out flavors.
Exactly. For example, a pinch of salt can really round out the flavors in a margarita.
So it's not just about rimming the glass with salt, it's actually going in the drink.
Yep. It can help to balance out the sweetness and acidity, making the whole drink taste more harmonious.
Interesting. What other cocktails use salt?
Well, there's the classic salty dog with grapefruit juice and vodka. Using a really flavorful sea salt in that one can really elevate the drink.
Okay, I am adding experiment with salty cocktails to my to-do list right now.
You won't be disappointed. It's a whole new way to experience salt.
I'm starting to feel like I need a whole new pantry just for all the different types of salt I want to try.
I know what you mean. Once you start exploring the world of salt, it's hard to go back to plain old table salt.
It's like a whole universe of salty possibilities. Okay, I think I need a minute to process all this. We've covered so much ground from the chemistry of salt to these mind-blowing orphan receptors.
It's a lot to take in, for sure. But it's so fascinating, right?
It really is. I mean, I never thought I'd be so excited about salt. Who knew it was so complex?
Right, and remember those orphan receptors we talked about? Imagine if we could figure out how to activate those. What kinds of crazy flavors might we discover?
Seriously, it's like the potential for flavor is limitless. Maybe one day we'll have like spicy salt or sour salt or even like umami salt.
Umami salt? Can you imagine? That would be a game changer in the kitchen.
I'd be first in line to try that. But for now, I'm excited to just, start exploring all the different kinds of salt that are already out there.
Me too. It's like a whole new world of culinary possibilities has opened up.
So if we had to sum it all up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners today?
I think the biggest takeaway is that salt is way more than just a seasoning. It's this fundamental element that affects how we taste things, how our bodies function, even how we develop new technologies.
It's true. We kind of take it for granted, just sprinkling it on our food without much thought.
But when you really understand the chemistry of salt and all the different forms it takes, it's pretty amazing.
Totally. It's like salt is this hidden hero of the culinary world.
And maybe even beyond. Who knows what other secrets salt holds? Maybe one day we'll be using it to power our homes or even travel to distant galaxies.
Salt-powered spaceships. Now that's a thought.
Stranger things have happened. Remember those scientists who used salt to create a material that, like, repels magnets?
Oh, yeah. That was incredible. It just goes to show you salt is full of surprises.
Exactly. So next time you're reaching for that salt shaker, remember it's not just salt. It's a tiny crystal packed with history, science, and a whole lot of flavor potential.
Beautifully said. And on that note, a huge thanks to you for joining us on this salty deep dive. It's been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, deep divers, keep exploring and never underestimate the power of a pinch of salt. TCCCV.